I believe that Terrarians often speedrun the game to Moonlord and never take their time on their worlds. I want to change that. So over the course of a year, I will be playing on this one world, with each stage of progression being blocked until the start of a new month. I'm doing this so I can seriously take my time in each stage of Terraria's progression and see what it has to offer. So, for the month of February, I've only been allowed to defeat the Brain of Cthulhu and the Goblin army. Otherwise, I could make no other form of progression. This is what happened. The first week went about how you would expect it to. I immediately started off by rushing to the Crimson to break a few hearts so I could fight the Brain of Cthulhu. I managed to lose my first fight against the Brain, since I decided to make this a Master Mode world, which I'm not very used to, and I went into the fight with very little preparation. This has been a recurring theme I've found as I've gone through the world thus far. Whenever I fight a boss, I don't take it very seriously, since I know that I'll have ample time to fight it again. If anything, failure can sometimes seem preferential, since it means I'll still have something to do. This is definitely a mindset I wouldn't normally have on a typical run. It didn't take long for the Goblin army to arrive and try to tear me apart. There isn't anything interesting that happened with it though, so back to the Brain. I failed a second attempt and then defeated it on the third try. All the while, I made little to no changes to my build or use of potions, but only made some tweaks to my overall strategy. I also put in some real effort to take full advantage of the multiple builds I had created, actually using my ranger and melee builds in my victorious fight. I even discovered that there was a shortcut to switch builds, and I attempted to become proficient with using them so the transition between builds was seamless. After defeating the Brain, I spent some time in the underworld mining hellstone ore. But all of that was only week 1 of February. Now what? This was the point where I was seriously starting to stretch what could be done. For the entire second week, I focused on doing one thing, and that was lava fishing. I did this only because I love the lava shark mount and I wanted it. Other than that, I also needed the obsidian rose so I could get my first pair of Terra Spark boots. It didn't take long for me to get the lava shark, as the second crate I fished up had the superheated blood. However, the obsidian rose proved to be a little elusive. I even went to the dungeon to collect a water candle and use a battle potion to increase the spawn rates. Eventually, I managed to get one, and with my lava shark and Terra Spark boots in hand, I was once again faced with the question of what to do. It was at this moment I realized that I had not yet found the enchanted sword, so I started digging all over the place, in locations where the sword was most likely to spawn. But I had no luck, at least not on week 2. Oh no, it looks like someone has summoned the subscribe brain! Make sure to equip your Molten Fury and your Jester's Arrows and start slaying those like buttons and that subscribe brain! And for every subscriber that we get this year, I will be throwing 1 stick of dynamite on a new, fresh, large world. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and claim your stick of dynamite, and let's see if we can end up destroying an entire world by the end of the year. On week 3, I discovered that it's actually possible for an enchanted sword to not spawn on a world. But my world was a large world. It had to spawn, right? Well, that's what I aimed to find out on week 3. I continued mining large chunks of the world, anywhere there could feasibly be an enchanted sword, but I had no luck. It seemed that everywhere I tried, there was nothing to be had. I was just about ready to give up when this happened. We found it! Oh my goodness! I was so close to giving up. We done it! Ah! Now that the enchanted sword was found, I decided to display it as a trophy. I then went to the desert to collect a bass statue, but that didn't take too long. This whole month, there had also been several blood moons, and each time I would actually attempt to farm it, rather than half-heartedly killing an enemy here and there. I even went fishing in an attempt to get the vampire frog staff. Despite farming the moon 3 times, I never got the amazing money trough. Though, on the 3rd blood moon, I did get the vampire frog staff I was after. But by the time that I got it, I already had the better imp staff. One last time, I was faced with what to do, so I did what anybody out of options would do, and that was build. I'm not much of a builder, but I've watched a tutorial or two, so I ended up creating this creepy face thing and a nice building for my jungle pylon. I also just recently realized that using 2 town slimes made it significantly easier to get pylons quickly, since I didn't have to wait until I defeated Queen Bee to get the Witch Doctor or Skeletron to get the mechanic. There is one more week in February, but I'd be recording that on the last day of the month, on the 28th, and I want to get these videos out before the end of the month. If you're watching this soon after its release, there's a chance you'll find me live right now. I'll likely spend most of my time building pylons and other structures before March begins, if that interests you at all. This experiment is already pushing me to my limits, and we've only completed 2 months of it. Even so, I'm still excited for what the future has to hold.